What's up, everyone? My name is Nick Castner, host and co-creator of the Commonwealth, which is a podcast that features entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes to uncover their approach to leading disruptive change. During my sophomore year at the University of Nebraska, I was scheduled to major in finance. On my first Intro to Finance test, I received a 43%. After grinding in the library for the week leading up to the exam, I was shocked when I had missed more than half of the questions. I had the classic college freakout and decided to change my major. About that same time, CBS ran a national story highlighting entrepreneurs in the Silicon Prairie. I thought it looked sexy, so I decided to change my major to entrepreneurship. That story aired almost 4 years ago. Since first watching it, I have helped start an accelerator for blue-collar entrepreneurs, helped Brian Ardinger organize his second I.O. Summit, and worked at one of the startups featured in that CBS clip, Bulu Box. While at Bulu, I met Alec McChesney, who at that time was the assistant sports and digital editor for the Lincoln Journal-Star. Over a pitcher of beer at Duffy's Tavern, we discussed creating a podcast on innovation. I would host the show and manage the guests, and Alec would produce the show and manage distribution. Our plan for this passion project worked fantastic for a handful of days. After building up some episodes, Alec soon left the newspaper and took a job as a marketing strategist at Firespring. Bulu went through a restructuring and laid me off. 4 days later, the Journal-Star hit me up and said that they were no longer interested in expanding their podcast selection. Having two jobs and losing both of them in the same week is just like getting a 43% on a finance test. As I was thinking about what I should do next, I realized that what CBS showed me, I was in the position to show others. That there's value in telling stories of interesting people building remarkable things. Knowing I had the skills, interest, and passion to capture these stories, I decided to set out as a full-time, independent journalist. We have now been able to release episodes the last 8 Mondays and have featured people like Jeff Rakes, the former CEO of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, David Graff and John Wirtz, two of the founders of Huddle, and the founders of Bulu Box. Our assumption is that journalism continues to move to multimedia and events. The multimedia product we're focusing on is the podcast. Our first event is November 14th at the Foundry. Happy hour starts at 4 p.m. At 5, Senator Anna Wishart, who is the state senator for Lincoln's Tech District, is hosting a 20-minute long question and answer session. After that, I will interview Ali Schwanke, the founder and CEO of SimpleStrat, which is a marketing company here in town. During this hour-long event, you can show up and hold your public official accountable and also hear from your local business leader. If you miss the event, we will capture all the audio and video similar to what we're doing now and stream it online. However, the event ends at the same time as happy hour, which is another reason to show up. We have distribution partnerships with Silicon Prairie News and KZUM Radio to support the podcast. After the first week, we received 900 listens. While that's an incredibly good start, our average needs to be about 4 times higher than that best week in order to make this project sustainable. The one thing I have to keep on reminding myself is that podcasts grow similar to websites. When a website goes live, it does not get thousands of hits all of a sudden overnight. It takes months of tweaking the content and driving new visitors in order to increase traffic. Unlike a website, I'm not able to edit any of the data that I upload. So if a sponsor wants to come and only advertise on my Jeff Rakes and Huddle episode, I'm not able to take any of their money. As I was prepping for the speech, I went back and watched that CBS clip on innovation in America's heartland. As they were panning away from Lincoln, they cut to the studio camera in New York. One of the first words spoken by the anchor was, "It's a great American story, the urge to create and innovate." And it's stories with that exact description, ones of people pushing our world forward that I'm setting out to capture. Thank you for your time. And in this role, I only get to ask people questions, so I'm excited to hear the questions that you all have. And if you ask a question, we are making a podcast, so you'll make the show just for now.